Oh, hello there, fellow adolescents. My name is Selin. Welcome to my channel. I painted that 3 years ago. My name is Selin. Today, we are going to talk about Jennifer's revenge, or Jennifer's solution. Her story has so many nicknames that you don't really know what it's called, so it's just gonna be all of the above. The story of Jennifer Pan's plot to kill her parents. You know, even that's accurate. So. Okay, I'm gonna do my makeup as I do this. So don't believe me, alright? I'm 15. I barely know what an atom is, so you need to bear with me, okay? So yeah, I'm gonna be telling you this story. I'm gonna have my notes. I'm gonna do my makeup at the same time because I saw a girl do it on YouTube as well. And I'll link her channel in the description. I really like her videos. So that's that. Let's get started, shall we? Okay. I closed the window, so now there's not as much noise. My hair is just gonna stay down. I'm not gonna like pull it back or anything. I know that's gonna annoy people, but that's the point. Let's start with some background info on Jennifer and her parents. So, Jennifer's parents were immigrants to Canada from Vietnam. Her mother's name was kind𓅿. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but I don't mean to. For the sake of this video, we're gonna call her Big, or her mother. Her father's name is kind𓅿. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Please correct me if I'm not, but for the sake of this video, we're gonna call him Han. She has one brother named Felix, and he was born 3 years after her. Her birthday, by the way, is June 17th, 1986. So throughout this video, there's gonna be a mention of towns around Toronto. Why is this important? Well, there's something called the GTA here in Ontario, and that's the Greater Toronto Area. That consists of a few towns and cities around Toronto, and people usually live in one area and commute to another city. They're very close by, that's why we just kind of group them all together. That's just kind of like a background context type thing. So her parents were very, very hard workers, and they worked in Aurora, Ontario in an auto parts manufacturer. They worked so hard, in fact, that by 2004, they had accumulated around $200,000 in savings, and then they bought a pretty big house in Markham, Ontario. So at this point, they were pretty well off, and this was not on accident. They did this on purpose because they wanted to make sure that their kids would have a future and an upbringing better than theirs. So now that you have the context you need, let's talk about Jennifer's childhood. So as most immigrant parents, Jennifer's parents had very, very high expectations of both her and Felix. However, these expectations were unrealistically high, to say the least. Jennifer specifically took piano lessons since she was 4 years old and figure skating classes. She actually loved figure skating. She even wanted to become an Olympic figure skater until she tore a ligament in her knee, which didn't let her skate anymore. Throughout high school, she was picked up directly after her classes ended and taken to her extracurriculars where she was monitored very closely. They were pretty restrictive in what she could do other than school. Like, she wasn't allowed to date boys, she wasn't allowed to go to school dances because they wanted to make sure that she'd focus on her school studies. What's ironic about this is that her academic life wasn't that extraordinary. Her grades throughout high school were pretty average. In fact, she averaged like a C- at like 70s or so, except for music. So because she wasn't doing as well as her parents wanted her to do in school, she began to forge report cards. Yep. That ain't right. That ain't right, sweetie. She faked that she was getting the straight A's that her parents wanted her to get, when in fact she wasn't. Hence the reason that she was, well, you're catching on. You're not that stupid. In the 12th grade, she failed her calculus class, which made Ryerson University revoke her early admission to the university. This made her so insecure because she felt like a failure in the eyes of others and the eyes of herself. Oh god, I'm gonna look horrible after this, aren't I? What do I have to lose other than my dignity? Oh, right, that's gone too. So because she felt like such a failure and so insecure, she began to fake her attendance to university. You're like, how can someone fake that? Well, she began to buy secondhand textbooks and watch videos on YouTube and take notes so then she could show her parents and pretend that she's going to university. She also lied about staying with her friends on campus throughout the week when she was actually staying with her boyfriend, Daniel. Daniel was a different guy, to say the least. His name was Daniel Wong, and they met in high school. He lived in Ajax, Ontario, which is a part of the GTA, very close to Toronto, and he was going to York University. He also worked at a Boston Pizza. Seems like a pretty decent guy so far. You're like, Selin, why are you being so harsh on him? Well, he was a part-time drug dealer. I mean, call me harsh, but I think that's pretty understandable. As she was pretending to complete her degree at the University of Toronto, UFT, she told her parents that she was volunteering at the hospital for sick children in Toronto. Okay, I'm gonna try to put on bronzer. I don't know how this works, so we'll just see how it goes. Soon enough, her lie was caught. Her parents soon became suspicious when they realized that she didn't have an ID badge or a uniform. So one day, her mother follows her to work and finds out that it's an absolute lie. Her attending university, her going to the hospital, all of it. All of her lies spilled like a cup of milk in a Canadian house in Saskatchewan. Yeah, baby. So out of shock and anger, her dad was very close to kicking her out of the house. But luckily, her mom found a way to convince him and just kind of like calm him down and let her stay under their conditions. So at this point, she didn't even finish high school, and so she began working on that. Her parents even tried to talk her into going to university, and it seemed at this point that things were coming together, that she was finishing her studies, kind of getting her life together. All was forgiven, all was forgotten, right? No. It was made clear to Jennifer that she wasn't allowed to see Daniel or go anywhere except her piano teaching lessons. Did Jennifer listen? No, sir. I mean, understandably, she was around 24 at the time. Like, I wouldn't listen either. I could see why she didn't listen, but at the same time, she was living under their house. The least she could have done is respect them. She kept talking to Daniel secretly and met him in secret as well. So around when Jennifer turned 24 or 25, I'm not completely sure, Daniel became kind of sick of dating her because he could only see her in secret and he was just kind of growing tired of it. So he broke up with her and he started dating another woman. And Jennifer, oh Jennifer, was very, very jealous of Daniel's new girlfriend. So what does any sane ex-girlfriend do? She insisted that Daniel's new girlfriend mailed her a bullet, implying that she was going to kill Jennifer. Right. Okay. There was no evidence of this, by the way. It was a complete lie. I mean, sounds sane to me. I mean, that sounds like a mentally stable person to me. Sounds fair, you know? Okay, so let's get into the actual murder. In spring of 2010, Jen got in contact with someone named Andrew Montemayor, I believe. According to Jennifer, he used to boast and kind of show off about how he mugged people at knife point, which Andrew denied, by the way. And let's remember that this is Jennifer Wikipedia. We don't know how reliable her as a source is, considering how much she lies. So Andrew introduced her to the goth kid of the school, if that makes any sense, and his name was Ricardo Duncan. So Jennifer said that she gave him $1,500 to kill her dad in his parking lot at his work. However, when Duncan was interviewed, he denied this. And he said that she gave him $200 for a night out and he returned it. And when she asked him to kill her parents, he denied her offer. At this time, Jen and Daniel were back in contact and they were coming up with a plan to hire hitmen for $10,000 to murder her parents. Now, as surprising as it sounds, Jennifer was pretty smart. She estimated that she'd inherit about $500,000 from her parents after they died. So the $10,000 that she'd hire the hitman for was almost like a sure thing. They would just have to make sure to kill them both. Daniel then connected her to 3 men who she hired as her hitmen. Now, the murder itself took place at her parents' house in Markham, Ontario on November 8th, 2010. It began by Jennifer unlocking the front door and then switching her lights on and off to indicate to the hitmen that the door was open and they are free to come in and quite literally murder her parents. I mean, get it, I guess. Okay, alright. Shortly after they got the sign that the door was open, the 3 men entered the house through the front door and they demanded for all the money in the house. They ransacked the bedroom and they took both her parents into the basement and tied them up. Then they took Bick, which is Jennifer's mother, and they shot her twice. One was in her neck and one was in her face, and her father, Han, was shot twice, one in his face and one in his shoulder, I believe. I'm not completely sure about that. So Jen claimed that they tied her up to the banister, but somehow magically was able to call 911. Soon enough, the 3 men took all the cash in the house, along with $2,000 from Jennifer, and fled the scene of the murder. Unfortunately, Bick died, but her father survived. He literally lived. I mean, get it, I guess. Jeez. The evening after Jennifer's parents were murdered, Jennifer underwent her first interview. And for perspective on the timeline, she was arrested on her 3rd interview on November 22nd, 2010. For some context, Canadian police are allowed to lie to you, only in regards to the evidence in the trial and the strategies they're using, though. The interrogating police actually used this advantage that they had by lying to Jennifer and telling her that they had this machinery that would tell them if someone was lying to them, like the exact lie they were telling. And it worked. It literally worked, because that was her biggest weakness, lying, right? Between April 14th, 2011 and May 4th, 2011, the 3 hitmen, as well as Daniel, were arrested by the police. During the 3rd interview, in which Jennifer was arrested, she lied. So this very creative lie of hers, which honestly might have worked, was that she hired the hitman to kill her and not her parents. I mean, how stupid do you think the police are to believe that you hired people for $10,000 that you didn't have to kill you? She said that she didn't have the guts to take her own life, so she hired people to do it. But she didn't have the money. So how did she promise them, and how did she make the deal with them and convince them to kill her? I mean, it literally made no sense. The trial of Jennifer and her accomplices began on March 19th, 2014. It continued for 10 months, and all pleaded not guilty to the charges of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. The trial included over 200 exhibits, and over 50 witnesses testified. At the trial, the police evidence included the following: tracking of mobile device movements, text messages with over 100 messages between Daniel and Jennifer in the 6 hours prior to the murder. More evidence centered around the atypical nature of the murder and robberies and killings and shootings and all that happened in this stupid murder. Not to mention, she had such an obsession with Daniel, and the lies that she already told about Daniel's girlfriend, like, it did not make her reliable whatsoever, and it just, this was all evidence that was just put against her. A major piece of evidence was the fact that she wasn't assaulted, she wasn't shot, she wasn't hurt at all, and she wasn't even taken to the basement with her parents. And that's according to her dad, because when he came out of his coma, he was able to tell his side of the story, and he said she didn't even get taken to the basement. In fact, she was talking to the murderers. I mean, like, you couldn't even act scared for your parents as they were getting killed? I mean, the audacity. But yeah, the fact that she wasn't, like, even hurt in any way just didn't make sense, because it left behind an eyewitness that was in no way hurt at all. Like, it would, like what? It just didn't add up. And remember when she said that her hands were tied up to the banister? Well, she couldn't even recreate how she called 911. Well, actually, she did recreate it, but the police did not fall for it whatsoever. They were just, like, not amused. They were even the ones who untied her. Like, when they came to the house, they were the ones who untied her from the banister, so it just didn't make sense how she even made that 911 call. Jen, Daniel, and 2 of the hitmen were convicted on December 13th, 2014, I believe. Yep, that's right. I just checked my notes because I'm smart. Duh. Come on. They each received a life sentence with no chance of parole after 25 years, which is victory, if you ask me. Like, honestly, it's about time. Her brother and father requested a court order that banned her from contacting any of her living family members ever again. Oh, and did I mention that she's not allowed to contact Daniel ever again? And I am in no way gonna debate against that. I will be completely honest. Okay. Oh. I mean, I don't hate it. Jennifer Pan is currently 34 years old, and she's serving her sentence at the Grand Valley Institution for Women in Kitchener, Ontario. That took me so many tries to get that. Oh my god. And that's pretty much the story of Jennifer Pan. It's just weird that someone could live a double life in real life, you know, because usually you see that type of stuff in movies. It's weird that she was able to do it in real life. I mean, props to her for that. I mean, I don't hate it. Selin star? Oh my god. Wait, no, I'm getting too confident. I guess that's it for this video. So, bye, have a good day, and don't die. Don't let your family members kill you, most important. Okay, bye.